Have you ever wanted to launch a podcast, start a business, and or start something new? If you answer those questions, if you answer the answer to those questions is yes, then you're at the right video because today we're going to talk about how to make your podcast different. Not only your podcast, but how to make your business different. That's called the competitive advantage. What is your competitive advantage? And today we're going to talk about how to make your podcast, your business different from all the other similar business and all the other businesses that's not as similar as to you. So let's go ahead and get it started. What's going on, everybody? My name is Terryl Humphrey. Welcome to the Phase Knowledge Podcast. Over the last half a decade, I've produced over 893 podcast episodes while helping 19 entrepreneurs launch their podcast with confidence. And over this journey, I've been documenting everything, and I've been bringing you along the journey to share what's working, what's not working, and how you can start implementing it today. So first thing first, let's go ahead and get it started since I got the introduction. So point number one is that you have to learn from your competitors. And competitors can be a similar podcast production business. Competitors can be a landscaping business. Competitors can be car washes. It matters that it's in the same industry, but what also matters is that you understand how to stand out from everybody. So what I start to recognize over the last half a decade, when I started podcasting and when I picked up my phone, started recording, I wasn't trying to be different. I was being myself. As I came on camera showing myself, talking about myself, talking about life, talking about the lessons, talking about the growth, talking about the experience, talking about everything, you see, I didn't recognize that I was being different. What I did recognize is that I was learning how to show up. I was learning how to do the work. I was learning how to do a podcast. You see, over time, as I start to do it more often, things, information, skills, development, understanding starts to come into place. It starts to come into place because of this. Because as I start to be myself, I start to create value around a subject. I start to create value around podcasting. Hold on. Around. God, hold on. There we go. Podcasting. So what that means is this. You see, when I started, I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but over time, I developed the clue. I was like, oh, okay, this can be something. It's not just about having the conversation, press record, having content put out there. I tell you this, within the last couple of days, I've had people reach out to me to get onto the podcast. That, in business term, is called inbound. Inbound, because they are reaching out to me. I'm not reaching out to them. Reaching out to them is called outbound. So over time, when I start to really understand, like, wait, hold on, what is it? Why are you reaching out? Like, how did you find me? How are you able to connect with me? How are you able to reach out to me? And I start asking these questions. You see, when I start getting to business, I start to learn the language of business. It's not just about doing one thing. It's literally about putting yourself in position so you can do business. As I start to really understand it, I'm like, oh, hold on, what is that? How y'all find me? I didn't recognize it was working. Because I didn't even know why y'all was finding me or how you can find me. You see, over time, what I did was that I started learning from others. I started learning from people who are similar to me. And I also started learning from people or companies who are different from me. Why? Because this right here is a skill of consistency. It is a skill of consistency because when people reach out to you, that is considered inbound. When you reach out to people, it's considered outbound because you're the one reaching out. Why am I saying this? I've learned the language of sales. Like, as I'm learning the language of sales, I'm doing the selling. And as I'm doing the selling, I just only thought I was only marketing myself. But see, marketing myself is putting myself out there. I wasn't aware that people actually like what I was talking about. So then they start to reach out to me. So then they start to say, hey, I like what you were talking about. Can we talk more? I'm like, sure, why not? And what that did for me is this. It made me different. It made me different because, yes, I don't mind reaching out to people. In fact, sometimes I reach out to people too much, but I need to do it more often. And I'm saying this because of this, because it's not just a skill that has to be developed. When I start doing business, things start to change because now I'm not only just learning from other podcast production companies, I'm learning from other competitors, but more importantly, I'm also learning from people who are in the podcast production. Why? Because I need strategies, I need tips, I need a know-how to operate the business. How do you operate the business in order for you to make revenue? How do you operate the business in order for you to have customers? You see, here's the thing that I've been doing the last couple of years. Is that I've been having webinars, right? I've been having online training webinars where people literally come and watch a 90-minute training. So some come, some don't come, but what I start to like really identify, I was supposed to have one yesterday at 12 o'clock p.m. It was the 17th. I was supposed to have a webinar the 17th, 2026, and one person signed up. Hold on. I was going to spell it out. One person signed up. One person didn't show. So one person signed up and one person didn't show. So the person who signed up did not show for the webinar. Okay. So then I go back and look into my software, my emails, my communications to make sure that it's already set up. Why? Because I need reminders. I need my reminders to be sent, to be delivered. So I'll go back and look. This right here is called email. Then I go look at the text message. And I go look at the delivery. It's not the fact that it wasn't working because all of this was set up. All of this was set up. So whenever somebody schedule a podcast training, it's already set up. You get the reminders, you get the notifications, you get the emails. How I know this? Because I receive the same notifications, because there's multiple. And so as I'm receiving, I'm like, okay, it's working. It's already set up right. Unfortunately, they didn't show up, which is fine. But I'm like, okay, what can I fix? What can I update? And when I saw it, okay, went back, looked at it. Okay, this is set up. That is set up. They signed up this time, didn't show up this time. Why? Was it because of my part? Like I wasn't communicating. I didn't send them reminders. I didn't see how to join the training. I didn't see how to do that. Or was it just a timing thing? Like they signed up for, but they forgot about it. I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure it out. What is this doing? It's giving me data. When you make your podcast different, you have to act on the data. You have to make changes on the data that you receive. You have to do the work in a way where as you receive information, you start doing more of what's working. When people are reaching out to get onto the podcast, I'm like, how are y'all finding me? I'm like, since y'all are finding me, I need to keep doing it. And some people say Google. Some people say Google. Some people say podcast networks. Others say, let's say social media. It's like endless. It's endless. And I'm like, man, how y'all doing that? But what I start to recognize, to make my podcast different, one, I have to show up. Two, One, I have to show up. Two, I have to provide value. Shout out to my wife because she always talking about some provide value. And I tell you this, to make your podcast different, you can't do what everybody else is doing. That was one thing that I struggled with because I'm like, man, how are all these people like have a big platform, have a big customer list, able to serve more people, able to make impact, able to have events, podcast events, able to make a connection, able to do all these different things. And what I recognize is that they make their podcast different. You see, I'm not just learning from people who are in the same industry. I'm just learning from everybody what makes the great great. They do the work differently because they show up as themselves. They want to get better. They become better. They do better. As they do better, they're in business. And I'm like, oh, okay. How can I apply that to my business? How can I apply that to my business? So then I start asking questions. I start going to having mentor conversations, going to entrepreneurship cohorts. I start learning the language of business. That's why I'm able to communicate about inbound and outbound because it's something that started to make sense. When you show up differently for your podcast, you have to operate your podcast as a business. So your podcast, there we go. Hold on. All right, so your podcast becomes a part of your business. A part of your business. Why? Because podcasting is a form of marketing. Communicating about the problem that you solve is marketing. Putting yourself out there is advertising. And having people to go from ad, let's say ad to webinar, ad to webinar to sign in up. I'm at this stage right here. Me. I'm able to get people there. People watch the presentation, people stay to the end, but they're not buying yet. And so I'm like, all right, cool, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, what I need to do is just figure out how to make the offer more compelling. And then which I've adjusted it so many different times, and I'm still adjusting it. But what I'm saying is this: different comes with a price. Excuse me. To make your podcast different, you have to pay the price to make it different. There's over 4.5 million podcasters. Like 4.5 million podcasts. There's a lot of podcasts out there. How do I stand out from 4.5 million podcasts? 90% of podcasters stop at episode number 3. 3 episodes. And then the 10% get past 20 episodes. So, as I start to recognize that, I'm like, okay, to make my podcast different, I got to see what everybody else is doing. Okay, if 90% of people are stopping, I'm already different because I've already produced 893 podcast episodes. If 10% of people already have 20 episodes, I'm already past that number a long time ago. So now it's like, okay, what's the other percentage of the amount of podcasters who start to make revenue from their podcast? That's something I gotta look up because I'm curious. Percentage of podcasters. Hold on. Podcasters who understands business and getting paid. To make your podcast different, you have to ask the questions. You have to ask the hard questions, because the hard answer is going to give you the responses you're looking for. Hold on. You see, hold on. To be different, you just got to see what everybody else is doing and then do the opposite. So the first point that we just went over was to learn from your competitors. Okay. Point number 2 is to sell something. I watched the podcast last week with Alex Hermosi. That was like a media company came to him and talked to him. That was like they trying to start selling stuff, trying to get into business. And he was like, have you ever thought about selling something? And it might seem so simple, but it's so difficult. Because now you got to figure out what to sell, why to sell it, how to sell it. Why, what, how. Why to sell, what to sell, how to sell. When I start asking myself these questions, I'm like, man, I got to figure this out. Because I was in class. I'm in school for business management, in addition to the entrepreneurship program with Action Zone. And I go to college university. As I start to really understand, that was like, what's the opportunity cost? What's the opportunity cost? Because everything has a price. Time, energy, money. You might not spend money today, but you will spend time. You might not spend time today, but you will spend money. You might not spend money and time today, but you will get effort. There's an opportunity cost in doing business. And it finally clicked and registered the other day, like, oh, okay, what am I going to sell? Why am I going to sell? How will I sell it? So then that's when I start really focusing on webinars. Because if I could do webinars, i.e. a sales process, I can educate, sell something, and speak to more people. So social media is a place where you can literally talk to a lot of people in a short span of time. But then I'm figuring out how to capitalize on speaking with a lot of people at a short span of time. And by capitalize, I'm actually saying like how to have a business from this, because I'm getting people there. Now I just got to start closing them. I just got to start selling something, which I'm in the process of doing. But this is me documenting the journey and me being transparent. This seems easy, but this, when understood, is effective. Why? Because now with the sales process, I was talking to one of my mentors, and the sales process can go from anywhere from 2 weeks to a year, 3 years. The sales process takes time for you to close your customer. But if you're only focusing on one customer, it's going to take a long time to close a deal. And I give promise up. In 2021, I was doing real estate wholesaling with one of my buddies back in Little Rock, Arkansas. And for 18 months, it's called pipeline. Pipeline was non-existent. Like it wasn't even none. Like nobody was there. And then the few that I had, It was a few. It was literally like no more than 5. I was speaking to five homeowners, and within 18 months, I closed one. We closed one transaction. We closed one transaction. Okay. As I start to recognize, I'm like, man, what did I do? I wasn't doing the work of reaching out to homeowners, following up, being consistent, and reaching out to more people. The thing about social media is that you can reach out to a lot of people, but if you don't follow up, you're not going to be in business. I recognize to be different, to have a different podcast, I have to start operating as a business owner. I have to start operating as a business owner, which means I'm going to have to start selling, which means I'm going to have to start offering things, which means that I have to start documenting everything so I can keep track of what's working, what's not working, why is it working, and how can I improve it. Now that I know this, I recognized this yesterday. Somebody clicked the ad, responded, or commented. So I was like, I wonder if I send a message, would they reply? I sent the message. They replied. I said, oh, this is the game. Just because somebody show interest in what you are doing doesn't mean that they have the interest to continue along the process. Excuse me. That was like, oh, okay, this is what I need to do. I know what I'm offering. I know how to offer it. And I just need to do more often. Now we help multifamily investors launch their podcast with confidence. It's not just launching your podcast, it's launch, edit, and manage your podcast. So maybe I need to change that. We help multifamily investors launch, edit, and manage your podcast. That's actually even better. Because now you don't have to say, well, I have X amount of episodes. Can you edit that? It's how we help you. That makes sense. That make a lot of sense. I got to write that down because that was good. We help multifamily investors launch, edit, and manage your podcast. That was a missing piece I was missing. Because I was doing like we help you launch your podcast with confidence, but everybody don't need help launching their podcast with confidence. Everybody need different things, and they start, that makes sense. Oh, man, that make a lot of sense. I'm going to just go to the third point because that's perfect. Have something to offer. So what we just talked about in point number 1, point number 2. Point number 1, point number 2 was to, not use what you have. Make your podcast different. Learn from your competitors and/or everybody else. Point number 2, provide value. Apply. Shout out to my wife. And point number 3, have something to offer. / sell. So what we got a podcast. We have a podcast masterclass. Hold on. 3-week. 3-week podcast masterclass, and that's for $997. And then that's the thing that we are offering right now. Like that's the thing that we're selling right now. And we're about to start adding editing services. SCR minimum is 3 episodes. as 3 episodes for $297 discount price. And to manage from launch, edit, manage, publish, we have that from, let's say, anywhere from $5K to $10K. So now that I know what we're offering, I just have to go out and offer it. I just have to go out and talk about it, go out and demonstrate it, go out and present it, go out and focus on it. Because it's not the fact that I didn't know what I was doing. Well, no, it's definitely that. It was the fact that I didn't know what I was doing and I didn't know how to communicate it, how to sell it, how to present it. But now that everything is there, having an offer makes a difference. Because now I'm doing business. I'm doing business. To make your podcast different, you have to do business. You just can't do your podcast as a hobby. You have to do your podcast as a business. If you don't do it as a business, you're not in business. In fact, I'll tell you this, if I'm not doing my podcast as a business, charging for it, offering services, providing value, educating, all these different things, I'm not in business. But to be in business, I have to understand that I have to start selling something. Now that I have what I'm selling, why I'm selling, how to sell it, I'm just about to go out there and do it more often. Which I've already been doing it, but I'm about to do it more often. Why? Because if I'm going to be in business, if I'm going to have a podcast production business, I need to be doing the work. And as I'm doing the work, I have to do the work consistently. So to make your podcast different, you have to literally show up, do the work every single day, but you have to operate your podcast as a business. And when you start to do that, you're not just showing up with no goal, with no purpose. You're showing up because this is how you operate a business. You have to show up daily. You have to show up nightly. You have to show up when you're tired, when you're overwhelmed, when you're stressed. You have to keep showing up, because what happens is that the more you show up, the more you will be in business, the more you would start to generate revenue. And it's mind-blowing that it took me so long to get to where I'm at today. But I'm glad I'm finally here, because now I'm about to double down on what's already working and improve what's not working. So don't be afraid to understand that your podcast can be different, but just make your podcast different from learning from others. To recap everything that we talked about today. Point number 1 is that you have to learn from your competitors. Learn not only people who are in the podcast industry, learn from others who are similar to you. Point number 2, you have to provide value. In other words, understand the business that you're in, and provide value, educate, inform, inspire, all these different things. And then the last point is that you have to sell something. Hold on. Yeah, point number 2 is that you have to sell something, and point number 2 and 3 goes together. You have something to sell, but make the offer. Like, start making the offers, because when you do, you start to generate business. You start to literally have revenue for your business, so you can really make your impact. So if you're an aspiring podcast, an entrepreneur, or somebody that's growing what you're doing, and you want a community, hit that follow button and subscribe. Also, we are starting our newsletter. So if you want to join our newsletter so you can catch every episode, every conversation, every video, make sure you hit that. I'm going to leave the email list in the description below. Join the newsletter. It's free, but you get a lot of information around podcasting, what's working for me, what's not working for me, and how you can start doing it for yourself. Lastly, don't be afraid to fail, because failure is knowledge.